Hi, it's Nick Aster with TriplePundit.com here at the 2014 edition of South by Southwest Eco. I'm excited to be here with Jessica Kowal. You're in environmental communications with Boeing. And so tell us a little bit about why biofuels are potentially advantageous if we could just get them built or produced. And what is it that is making this a slower and complicated process?
Okay, well, I think the starting point really is to think about the aviation market around the world. And what's happening is that through globalization and industrialization, you have a growing middle class around the world, in many regions of the world, especially in emerging markets. And so there's a tremendous demand for air travel. People have the means and they want to travel, and they want to travel by airplane. So you think about the US and Europe, these are well-established airplane markets and aviation markets. And so now what you see is in many other parts of the world, whether that's in China, in Southeast Asia, in the Middle East, Latin America, and Africa, more people are coming into middle class. So you're having more travel. There's enormous demand for certainly airplanes. And based on Boeing's forecast, we expect the global fleet of airplanes to double in the next 20 years. That obviously has implications for the environment. Right now, today, aviation, commercial aviation is responsible for about 2% of global man-made carbon emissions. And that's actually, it's a relatively small number, but it's an important number. It's a high-profile, we're a high-profile industry and recognize we need to do something about that and find ways to bring down emissions for aviation. There are three main ways that you can reduce carbon emissions. You really have to use less petroleum. That's fundamentally, you use less petroleum, you reduce emissions. But I mean, I think sort of at a starting point, there are a couple different ways you can reduce fuel use in an airplane. One is you make the plane more efficient itself. You can do that with aerodynamics or better engines. You can make the routes more direct, so you're using less fuel to get from point A to point B. And the other, which is what we're here talking about, is you replace the fuel with an alternative fuel that is bio-based and sustainably produced. And based on testing, not Boeing testing, but I think this is Department of Energy testing, on a gallon-for-gallon basis, if you use sustainably produced aviation biofuel, you reduce carbon emissions by about 50 to 80%. So if you could take an airplane and fill it half with biofuel, then for that half of the plane, the half of the fuel supply, then you're going to reduce carbon emissions by 50 to 80%, which is really significant when you think about, you know, the growing number of airplanes and fuel use and really the projections on carbon emissions. So we're really excited about it. We have these projects around the world, really creative projects, to try to develop regional supply of aviation biofuel that can be sustainably produced and then supply major airports. That's the goal.